So if you've got that curriculum making model in front of you, those three sources of energy, imagine if you were a teacher and you were only concerned with the children. So all your energy was just focused into that circle, that source of energy. You were only interested in the children. You were a child-centred teacher at the expense of other concerns. I think the curriculum making model is suggesting that your teaching would be unbalanced. Similarly, if you're a teacher who was only interested in your performance, the technical act of teaching, to the exclusion of the other two areas, then again your teaching could be considered to be pretty deficient. All you're interested in is your own performance. You're only interested in yourself. Similarly, and thirdly, if you were the kind of teacher who's only really interested in the subject, you're a boffin who just wants to talk incessantly about what you know about your subject. Again, your teaching would be deficient. You wouldn't be taking enough care to make sure that material was accessible and interesting to the children. You wouldn't also be taking much care over the way you organised it. In other words, the pedagogy. What I'm saying is this curriculum making model is useful because it helps us see that a good teacher is one that aims for the middle, aims for some kind of balance between those competing priorities, the kids, the teaching, the subject. And a good curriculum maker gets to the middle. And we might label the middle of the diagram something like geographical thinking or thinking geographically. So what you're trying to do is organise your teaching, organise the material, organise the children so that a sequence of lessons is trying to teach them something they don't know already and teach them this ability, this, I like to say, capability of thinking geographically. And I think that's a really important point. It might sound obvious, but we send kids to school and we send kids to geography lessons because we think it's important. Society thinks it's important. And I think that's where the subject really matters. Can you, as a geography teacher, say very clearly and simply what it is that you're teaching the children that they don't get from home, they don't get from the supermarket, they don't get from the internet, they don't get from watching TV, they don't get from talking amongst themselves, they don't get on their way to school in the morning. It's something they get at school. It's special. It's something that you give them in the form of a geography lesson. And also, can you say why that's important? If you can't, you're not a curriculum maker, because curriculum making forces that sort of question. And it's not quite the same thing as lesson planning. Lesson planning is very high, fine-grained activity. It's intensely practical and it's dead important. But lesson planning in itself isn't curriculum making. Curriculum making is, if anything, the next layer up. And it's not about the national curriculum either, or the GCSE specification. That's curriculum planning. That's not curriculum making. That's curriculum planning or even curriculum design. Curriculum making is a layer down. So curriculum making is a professional activity that happens some way between lesson planning, which is intensely practical and very important, and the level of curriculum design, or indeed whole school curriculum planning. Curriculum making is that in-between thing. And it's something that you might not write down. I suppose the closest thing that you might write down is a scheme of work. That might be the physical manifestation of curriculum making. But actually curriculum making, it's more subtle than that. It's your attitude, it's your whole approach to planning and sequencing and designing what you're doing with the kids, and it's driven by some sense of purpose. That's the thing. You want to teach them something they don't know already, and you do it in a way that's meaningful for the kids and is using the best of what we know about how to teach. This is curriculum making.
Do you want to carry that on by telling me what a quality geography lesson looks like within a curriculum making pattern?
Well, if you look at the GA's website on curriculum making, you'll see lots of definitions and a glossary and so on and so forth. But the best bit of it, I think, is what an example of what we call a curriculum artefact. And I think it's by focusing on the artefact that I can answer that question. What makes a really good geography lesson? Now, the term is odd, isn't it? And I'm constantly asked, why do you call this a curriculum artefact? Well, the answer is I can't think of a better word. I mean, it's not a lesson plan, and it's not a scheme of work, and it's not just resources either. It's something more than just a good resource, because we do something with a resource to make it into a curriculum artefact. In other words, it's the resource in context. So if you've got a really good resource, like you've got some good images you took on holiday, or you found a great website with some material on it, that's great. That's what geography teachers do. They're really good at using a variety of resources. You make it in a curriculum artefact by you understanding how it's contributing to a course of study which is taking the kids, like I said earlier, somewhere that they don't know already. It's introducing them to new ideas. It's taking their thinking onwards. And very often it's taking their thinking on in a way that isn't common sense. It can be quite tough. It can be quite subtle. And a really good curriculum artefact does that. But the resource itself doesn't do it. The resource does it because you make it happen. So if you have a look at the curriculum artefact, which is in fact an Irish folk song, and it's used to teach migration. And the website shows you how it's used and gives you the text, and there's a couple of videos as well. And I would just encourage you to use that to kind of get what I mean by a curriculum artefact. But the question is, how do I describe a quality geography lesson? Well, through that curriculum artefact. And I'm going to be very dependent on the work that Margaret Roberts has done on this over the years. Margaret says, what makes a good geography lesson? Well, number one, it has some geography in it. And I think it's indisputable that a lesson or series of lessons on population migration in Ireland to the USA has some geography in it. That is geography. So the geography is there. What Margaret also says is that a really